at the hole on this thing.
That's a big hole.
He's a big old mudded up sucker. Look at the hole. Come over here. So this is the exit. Perfect shot, huh? He's pretty jet black, really. Oh, this is a bear I just shot. I want to do a little anatomy lesson. I shot this bear right behind the shoulder. You can see this big hole. It's right in the meat of the shoulder. So I'm gonna cut this waist out. And let's look at where it went in actually. Okay, so it's the front of the rib cage here. You can see I cut all the ribs. I cut the slots in here so you can see how small bear lungs are. But arrow went in here and it was slightly quartering towards, and it went out the other side. You can see this cut right here from one of the blades that brought it, almost broke that rib. It's like snapping right there. But with bears, I mean, this is the front of the body cavity right here. And so right in the center of the shoulder is probably the far extreme forward that you'd want to shoot. There's the last rib right there. Here's the scapula right here. And then the ribs start back here. So you can see the diaphragm down in here. The diaphragm always connects to the last rib. It doesn't matter what game animal. Here's one more rib. Here's a rib. And the last rib is right here. So the diaphragm's all the way back here. You can see that's just 3 inches in front of the hip. But yeah, here's the kicker. The lungs aren't that big. There's no lung filling up the chest cavity right here. You can see right inside here how little the lungs are. Now obviously these have been deflated because I shot it through the lungs and it is dead, but very small compared to an elk. There you go. There's the center of the lungs right here. And look at that broadhead, that perfect X. Okay, so I dead centered that frontal lobe. But where was the entrance? It was right up here in the shoulder. So that main lobe is far forward, and then you have the rear lobe, which is right here, and it sits back here, but look how small that is. So when you go to shoot a bear, number one, the best thing you can do is shoot it with a big broadhead. Shoot it with an expandable, shoot it with a hybrid, something with a big cut diameter, because if you get it in this body cavity, you want to really cut as much as possible. You can see these ribs on a bear are really brittle and flimsy. It's not like an elk at all, so there's no reason to shoot like a cut on contact or anything like that on a bear. So there you have it. I shot that bear right here, and that's dead center of that front lung, and it was right above the heart. Here's the heart laying right here, which is right behind the shoulder and back. See, the heart is back here, so it's actually behind the shoulder of the bear. So let's just say that bear's standing there. Here's the elbow. See my thumb right here? Here's the elbow. And like on a deer, the heart would be up here. The heart on the bear is a little farther back. You have the one lung up front, and then, well, the main lobe of the lung up front, and then this piddly small lobe back here. So I would stay off the back half of the ribs, not a lot back here. Obviously, if you shoot here, you're gonna get liver. So the liver's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, between 4 and 5 ribs up, you're gonna hit the liver right here in the stomach. And that's about 7, 8 inches behind the shoulder. So keep that in mind. You know, you wanna hit anywhere from the shoulder to 5 or 6 ribs forward, so right there. But that is a little different. That heart does sit farther back on a bear. Still on the brisket like anything, it's just farther back. This broadhead performed really well, and it's actually locked open. It's in perfect shape, but the entrance hole was phenomenal on this thing. Very impressive. This bear's 40 yards, and I like to shoot bears lower and farther forward. So I'll run up just up the back of his leg and make sure I hit him lower than I do high. Now I was off a little bit actually. You can see I hit him straight up in the center of the leg and about mid-body, if not just below the center line. And that bear didn't go anywhere, of course, but it was too far forward. I would have liked to have seen that a little farther back. I thought this bear was going to be dead, and this shows you the importance of always reloading and shooting again immediately. Now let's go into this other Wyoming bull from, probably 5 years ago or so. I snuck in on him and he was 51 yards. And now look at this angle. So this is a very extreme angle. I can barely even see that far front right shoulder, and that's where I want that arrow to come out. And the arrow entrance is going to be right in the hip, or right in front of the hip was my goal. And you'll see this bull's alerted, and so he did drop a little bit, and that arrow hit him mid-elevation, and it indeed buried into that far front shoulder. And that's a perfect hit. This bull went about 60 yards and piled up just inside of the timber. Now this is my Oregon bull, so there's no mechanical broadheads allowed, which they did change that for 2019, but this is a fully fixed broadhead, no expandable portions. And you can see that this bull ran out and stood there, and I hit him right about center line. So this is a true cut on contact 2-blade broadhead with a small bleeder blade. Now, I normally do not shoot broadheads with this small of cut. The fixed portion is 1 1/16 inch, and the bleeder blade is 3/4 of an inch. And so this is 1 13/16 total cut. And you can see that this bull ran out there, stopped and looked around, and didn't really know what was going on. And it did kill him, but it took 20 minutes. This is a good example of why I prefer a hybrid like the Gravedigger with that 1 inch fixed, and then you have the 1.5 inch mechanical portion. So that gives you 2.5 inches of cut diameter, which is 3/4 of an inch more than a normal fixed blade broadhead. So hopefully all these scenarios will help you when you shoot your next big game animal, and maybe give you some insight on how I like to shoot a big game animal and what has worked, what I would do and what I wouldn't do anymore. I don't think you can look at too many situations like this and too many shot angles, because ultimately you want the quickest, most clean kill as you can possibly get. So the more kills you watch, the more anatomy of the animal that you're hunting you look at, the better result you're going to have. So keep that in mind before you go on your next bow hunting trip. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, give it a like, and leave me a comment. Tell me what your favorite shot is on a big game animal, whether you like a quartering away, a broadside, or a quartering towards, or whatever. Leave me some insight, and maybe I'll learn something too. We're all in this together. Thanks, guys.